Once upon a time, way back in the Bush era, I started reading blogs about libertarianism and I started reading blogs about feminism. And I was like, cool, I'm a libertarian, I'm a feminist. They're both philosophies that are rooted in equal rights and respect for the individual. Nobody should have a problem with this, right?
Yeah, so how did that go?
Not like I thought.
Yeah, so let me guess. The libertarians were like, feminists are all Marxist communists who hate liberty. And the feminists were like, libertarians are evil anti-woman misogynists, and women can't even be libertarians anyway, right?
Yeah, pretty much. That's when I first thought, okay, we need to work on this.
Flash forward a decade or two.
You and I met.
Here we are.
Here we are.
And we're filming the very first in a series of videos for Feminists for Liberty.
Should probably start by telling them a bit about who we are.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm Kat, and I'm a libertarian and a feminist. And I've probably always been a feminist because, I was born a woman and always thought that I should be able to have all the same rights and opportunities as anyone else, regardless of my sex or gender. And I was actually probably also always a libertarian, but I didn't actually know what that was for a long time. And so I was sort of on the internet and reading books and trying to find out different ideas and trying to find people who thought like me, right? And I kind of came to this conclusion that I was the only one. And then one day I was on a weed messaging board and I was in an argument, because that's what one does on the internet, where I was telling someone, hey, so cannabis should totally be legal because it's your body and it's your right. And the drug war is terrible, but I'm worried about what will happen once it's legalized in terms of taxation and regulation. And so I was about 15 at the time, and this person comes back to me and was like, hey, I think you're a libertarian. And I was like, I don't know what that is. So they sent me the 4-way political quiz and I took it and I was libertarian. So I Googled that up and I found actually the Cato Institute online and I started reading their stuff. And for the first time in my life, I was like, hey, these people agree with me. And then basically since then, I've been involved in a bunch of different libertarian orgs and causes and, just trying to spread liberty around the world. And now I'm executive director of Feminists for Liberty.
I am Elizabeth Nolan Brown, or Liz, as most people call me in person. I am the president of Feminists for Liberty. I am also a journalist. I've been a journalist for a long time, for about the same amount of time that I've been a libertarian. I discovered libertarianism right after college. I was not lucky enough to realize that it was a thing when I was in college. I knew I wasn't a Republican, but I didn't agree with the Democrats about a lot of things. I didn't agree with a lot of people in my college who were involved in progressive or leftist organizations. So I just, thought I was an independent and sort of politically homeless. And I went to a thing at Institute for Humane Studies, and it was a summer seminar for students and like young recent graduates. And I was like, wow, this is exactly what I think. This is kind of what I've been thinking all along, and I didn't know there was a cohesive philosophy behind it. So, they gave me the books on Hayek and the Reason magazine subscription and, books by Cato Institute writers and all sorts of stuff. And I started reading up on that. And I started working at a newspaper at that time. I was living in Ohio. And I ended up moving to DC. I've had a lot of different journalism jobs. I was writing about health and nutrition for a while. I worked for the AARP for a while. I was like the youngest person working in their journalism department for a while. But I always wanted to work at Reason, and luckily that worked out starting in 2014. So I moved back to DC from New York, and I started at Reason, where I'm going into my 7th year this year. I'm in my 7th year this year, and I love it there, and I really am glad to be able to cover all sorts of things from a libertarian perspective. But also I wanted to do more sort of direct organizing and outreach, and that's where Feminists for Liberty comes in. I met Kat back into around when I first started at Reason, around when I first moved back to DC, around 2014. I think it was at a Ladies of Liberty Alliance event.
No, no. So it actually wasn't. It was when you first started working at Reason, and my husband, who was then my boyfriend, was working at the foundation at that point, and you came over to my house with some Four Loko that you stole from the Reason fridge.
No, not from the Reason fridge. This was the contraband Four Loko that had both the caffeine and alcohol in it. We kept it on a special place. That's right. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
There's still some contraband Four Loko somewhere in the Reason office, but I am not here talking to you guys as a person from Reason. I'm here talking from Feminists for Liberty. I should make that clear right now. Yeah. But we were both involved. Okay, we were both, I knew her husband through Reason. We were both involved in Ladies of Liberty Alliance. We were both involved in a group called the Association of Libertarian Feminists. Well, we were involved in their Facebook group. It's a group that was founded in the 1970s. Libertarianism and feminism has a long tradition within the movement. But by the time Kat and I were sort of met talking about it, it's not very active anymore. It doesn't do a lot of things other than sort of exist as an online sphere on Facebook. So we started talking about launching Feminists for Liberty back in around 2016.
wait, so I think we should talk about what was happening in 2016 first.
Well, not the libertarian moment, first of all.
No, definitely not the libertarian feminist moment.
It had been saying that it was going to come, and then like poof, then Donald Trump and everything.
Yeah, not so much, right? So what actually happened was this was around the time of the rise of the alt-right, and unfortunately there was some pretty heinous rhetoric about feminism as cancer that was sort of bleeding into the liberty movement a little bit at that time, and which of course, like we were both talking about how that was completely antithetical to the ideas of liberty and how much libertarianism and feminism had been linked kind of from the beginning. And so there's all of that going on. And of course, there was the feminist movement.
At that point in time, it was very much like if you were not 100% on board with Hillary Clinton, then you must be alt-right. You must be a Nazi if you didn't support everything Hillary Clinton did, or Kamala Harris was starting to rise at that time. You didn't sort of support that, support this very anti-sex worker, thing that's still going on, but was going on then with the start of talking about things like FAFSA and things like that. So it was just not at all a very libertarian time in the feminist movement at all either. And it just seemed like, and within the broader sort of liberal left, democratic, progressive movement, whatever, at large, like more people turning against free speech, more people turning against civil liberties. So or just, not really at least thinking that they were very important. So it seemed like libertarians and libertarian feminists had less and less in common with either the right or the left, broadly conceived. We were more politically homeless than ever at that point.
Yeah, and the primaries were really just starting up, and it looked like Hillary Clinton was the presumptive nominee. And we were just having this conversation about how we were expecting there to be the campaign to start pushing the idea that if you were a feminist, you had to vote for Hillary Clinton. And in fact, they actually went worse than that. The campaign ran this whole thing about how if you donated to Hillary Clinton, you could get your woman card. Yes, there's heavy scare quotes around that, right? Which totally goes against this feminist ideal of women being individuals with their own ideas and choices and, getting to decide things for themselves.
I think that may have been a jab though at Donald Trump, because he said something about like, oh, you're playing a woman card, which goes back to, like that was our other option. You had.
Right. Oh God. Right. We weren't even expecting that when we first had the conversation. And then you have Donald Trump, who gets elected in on his whole grab him by the pussy moment.
So I guess long story short, we really wanted to see more libertarian feminist ideas in the political conversation out there that was happening, and promote the very many people that were libertarians that were not at all like the stereotype that was out there, and the very, very feminist community that were not at all like the stereotype that was out there. So we realized that there was no really group filling that sort of this space that was not just for women, that was for people regardless of sex or gender, that was not just talking within the libertarian movement or the liberty movement, that was not just talking to other libertarians, and that was also not just focused on feminists and outreach within the feminist community too. We wanted to sort of do all three of those things, be very outward facing, be not for just women, and be very explicitly political, which I guess some of the other groups that are like really great, like Lola, but they're more concerned with networking and helping people get ahead in their careers, and we wanted to be more just talking directly about ideas and policy and things like that.
Yeah, and so it took us a while to get through the formal paperwork. Oh, there's so much paperwork. Someone who's a philosophical anarchist, I never thought that I would spend so much of my life dedicated to jumping government hurdles. But back in 2018, we officially incorporated, Feminists for Liberty officially incorporated. And a little bit later, the IRS gave us our 501c3 nonprofit status. Yay. Which essentially means that we talk about policy, we talk about libertarian feminist ideas, but what we don't do is lobby or attempt to influence elections.
We are not a PAC or anything like that. We don't support candidates, although we do, we might talk about candidates, we might talk about their ideas and things like that, but we're not out there trying to say like, vote for this person, vote for this policy or initiative or anything like that, or this proposition or on the ballot or anything like that. We definitely talk about policy, although we're more focused too on just sort of broader sort of ideas about underlying issues too behind things, I think. But anyways, the nonprofit thing, the 501c thing, the important thing that means is that you can donate to us and it's tax deductible. Yay.
Yes, because taxation is theft.
So that's our backstory. What are our goals going forward? In the broadest sense, we want to promote the values and voices of libertarian feminism.
Yes, so Feminists for Liberty, we are anti-sexism and anti-statism, pro-markets, and pro-choice in everything. And we promote the idea that consent applies to all things.
How we do this is sort of an ever-evolving strategy. We've tried to have a three-prong approach, as we sort of mentioned earlier. First, just sort of outreach in injecting our views and libertarian feminist views into the general political conversation, wherever that is, whatever's happening in the news, sort of meeting the news where it is, meeting people where they are, and commenting on that, whether that's in the media or on our social media or through panels that we organize and things like that. The second is, outreach within the libertarian movement and within the libertarian community about, issues that just, it's not that people are hostile to them, it's just that they often get overlooked historically, a lot of issues that are maybe, considered more women's issues or gender issues. And then third, outreach within the feminist community and with different feminist circles and trying to get libertarian feminism as sort of, part of the conversation in that way.
So from the start, we've been focused on media outreach and social media. We really wanted to get the word out there. So you should follow us. We are at Feminist Liberty on Twitter, and we're Feminists for Liberty on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And you can sometimes hear us on TV or the radio, or you can see us quoted in newspapers and magazine articles.
Before the pandemic started, we were much more focused on in-person events. We, showing up at protests, showing up at conferences. We were doing a salon and social series at Exiles Bar in DC, where we had, little flash talks followed by a happy hour. Like everyone else, we've had to switch gears a lot in the past year. But that's given us an opportunity. We've done, started launching a private working group, which we're going to continue. We've started doing a lot of Zoom conferences, which has been a really cool chance to get to bring people who, aren't necessarily within our geographical vicinity in DC. And we did one to celebrate the anniversary of women's suffrage last August. We did one just, what it means to say libertarianism is consent culture. We did one about communicating ideas of liberty through video. And we've got a lot of them planned for this upcoming year, starting in January and going through most of the months of the year. So we're really excited about those.
Yes, and we also launched a swag shop where you can get really cool stuff like Liz's mug, my mug, this shirt right here, Girls Just Want to Have Fundamental Rights. It's
not all our logo. There's like some just sort of general libertarian feminist slogans, and then there is some.
Yeah, definitely. So we have a lot of really cool stuff, and yeah, you can buy it and it'll help support us in the work that we're doing.
Towards the beginning of the pandemic, we started trying to branch out into avenues. The swag shop is one of them. We also just kept hearing from people about how they could be involved without us actually doing anything. And, right away we didn't know. So we decided to launch a video contest, which would give us a chance to harness all the great ideas and creativity of other people who are just, stuck at home and in lockdown. So we launched that in the spring. Kat, you want to tell them a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was really cool. So we gave folks late spring, early summer to submit videos, either responding to a series of prompts that we gave them, or just on general libertarian feminist topics. And we actually got way more videos than we were expecting to get. And they're all just really different and cool and interesting, and you can watch some of them on our YouTube channel actually. And then we had this awesome panel of judges who watched them all, including Remy Munasafi, who makes videos for Reason TV and also is pretty well known on YouTube. I think he's got the Go Remy channel where he does parody videos, which I find very funny. And we also had Terry Kibbe, who is the co-founder and chief executive officer of Free the People, which is an organization that she runs with her husband, Matt Kibbe. And they have a bunch of awesome viral videos about libertarianism and liberty ideas. And they do interviews with folks and things like that. And we also had Joe Jensen, who's currently an impact producer with the production company Just Add Firewater. And she actually holds the, I think, 2012 Guinness World Record for having the most people who showed up at a premiere for a movie. She's done a lot of award-winning films and lots of cool stuff like that. And we also had 2 members of Feminists for Liberty's board of directors, including Ovens O'Brien, who runs the Not That Kind of Feminist group on Facebook, which is pretty cool. You guys should check it out. And is also known for her speaking engagements and for taking photos at liberty conferences and events all around the world. And Jacqueline Boudreau, who used to produce videos for Learn Liberty and is now at the Pacific Legal Foundation, where she's helped create a bunch of award-winning films that really humanize Supreme Court cases. And these are good. I know I said Supreme Court, it makes it sound boring, but these are like actually good films.
Yeah, seeing all of them really inspired us to start this video series because, there were a lot of people that were just sort of talking directly to their camera. And it was like, okay, if other people can do this, we can do this. Something we've been putting off doing for a long time.
Definitely. And we're going to try to keep all these videos short and focused, which admittedly we're both not so great at, especially when we get together and we get giggly and we get off topic and we talk about 10 different things and leap from point A to point Z, and we get what we're talking about and everyone else who's around us is like, what? So we're going to try
not to do that.
Right, exactly. But the idea for these Kat and Liz talk about videos is that we're just going to give you bite-sized answers to libertarian feminist questions. And it's going to be everything from why capitalism and markets help women to how sex and gender impact society or impact policy.
Country music.
What?
Country music. That was one of the list. Country music.
Country music was.
We both have a lot of thoughts about country music.
We have a lot of thoughts about country music, good and bad. And
the internet, criminal justice reform.
Yeah, so it's really fun.
Relationships, sexual harassment in the liberty movement, trad culture, 90s feminism. We've got a lot of good topics planned, you guys.
So much. So please like this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on social media and share this with your friends.
And tell us, what you think and what you want to hear us talk about.
Yeah, and so just really excited to keep talking to you guys.
Thank you for watching. Until next time.
Bye.